Well, a lot has happened with the New York Mets in the last 10 days, right? Most of it not good. Most of it terrible, in fact. They're 3-7 in what we call the Big Ten games against the Phillies, against the Braves. 10 games against your rivals, a chance to open up the lead in the division. They Mets went and lost 7 straight. They looked god-awful in the beginning of the stretch of these 10 games. And they lost Griffin Canning last night with a ruptured Achilles, which is something you never see in baseball. But, of course, if it's going to happen to somebody, it's going to happen to the Mets. They get more damage to their starting pitching. You had Alvarez, your starting catcher, your future catcher, sent down to the minors during this stretch. You had Alonso and Lindor, who couldn't hit the water jumping out of a boat during this stretch. And then somehow, on the other end of it, on the back end of it, they take the final 2 games, they split a 4-game series against the Braves, and they come out of it still in first place. Yeah, by only a half a game, a lead that was about 6 when the 10 games started, but they're still in first place. You can't really play much worse than the Mets played in those 10 games. You can't really have as much go wrong as the Mets had go wrong for them in 10 games anytime during a season, and the Mets had it. You can't imagine they're going to have more stretches like that. If they do, then it's not going to be a good summer. But they weathered the storm. They come out the other end, a half game ahead of the Phillies, a big 2 wins against the Braves. The Braves, after everything that they've done, sweeping the Mets and playing real well after coming into that stretch for them against the Mets, they're still 10 out. Still a long way to go for the Braves. Now, I do think the Braves are going to make a push somewhere along the line here, but the Mets have weathered the storm. They came out the other end, somehow still in first place. Now, the pitching is a mess because Manaea also is on the shelf now again. Senga went down. You got Griffin Canning, who just a devastating injury yesterday. I mean, you hate to see it. It was one of the non-contact things that you see in football more than any other sport. You've never seen it. Like I said, you never see it in baseball. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen to the Mets. And they are a half game ahead of the Phillies in first place. And they head to Pittsburgh, a team that they should be able to beat up on because they missed Skeens. Skeens is not pitching in this series. The Mets missed him, so the luck has changed a little bit. Mets made some roster moves today. Finally, Jared Young is sent down to the minor leagues where he belongs. Now, I hate to say that about somebody, but let's be real. He was no good. He somehow was getting plugged into that DH hole every single night. He is now in Syracuse. And I don't know why it was the last couple of days. It seemed to a big topic of interest with the Mets was when Vientos comes back, which he does tonight. Who are the Mets going to send down? And I like, how could it not be Jared Young? They're talking about Acuna, Mauricio. No, it's the most blatant, obvious answer ever. It's Jared Young. I know Acuna's not hitting well, and Mauricio is struggling at the plate, but these are 2 big prospects. Jared Young is, I hate to say it, but he's a nobody coming onto this team hitting 148 in the DH, automatic out. Everybody is against him, and he's the guy that had to go. I couldn't believe when I turn on the radio or you turn on certain TV shows, and it was a debate. Who are they going to send down when Vientos comes back? It's not a debate. It was Jared Young the whole time. It's the most obvious answer there's ever been. They've also moved, obviously, Griffin Canning to the injured reserve. He'll be gone. He'll be gone for over a year. So that's the last you're going to see of him. And the Mets, it's just another obstacle that this starting staff is going to have to overcome. Now you have the Phillies and the Braves hopefully beating each other up this weekend. So it's a time now where the Mets can kind of get back to where they were before the 10-game stretch, right? Come into Pittsburgh, take care of business in these 3 games, and you can start to, stretch it out again and get back to where you were by the All-Star break, hopefully. Now, last night's game, Pete Alonso, 3 for 4. He seems to be coming out of it a bit here. Soto with the big game the night before, the 2 home runs. And you know what? For everything we've said about Soto and for everything we've said about Alonso and how great Alonso was to start this season, and he was every bit as good. He deserved every bit of credit we gave to him and every bit of cheers that they showered on him because he carried this team for the first 2 months. And we killed Juan Soto, who did not get off to a good start. No, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we shouldn't have killed Juan Soto, and he got off to a better start. He was terrible. He got his footing. But now you look up at the end of June, the last weekend of June, and he's got more home runs than Pete. I mean, Soto is on the cusp of having the best all-time month in Mets history. His OPS is 1.225, which is just off the charts. He's got 20 RBIs. He's got 11 home runs. He's going to, hands down, win the player of the month. He's going to run away with it. So Soto is now, this is what the $700 million was all about. Because he's carried the team here in June. Because Lindor's been no good. Beatty's been no good. Alonso, for the most part, barring the last couple games, was no good. And Soto, and I know the Mets' record hasn't been great, especially over the last 2.5, 3 weeks. But Soto, the games that they did win, Soto had his hands all over them, and he was a key factor in all those wins. He's carried the team through the month of June, and he's kept them afloat. And I think now, because the Mets got those 2 against Atlanta, split that series, everybody took a deep breath, and we're back to okay, it's going to be okay, right? Because there was a time there where it was just snowballing, and it could have just careened out of control. And they, the old Mets, they lose 18 of 20, and then it's over. But they didn't. I think they got control of this thing back in the last 2 nights. Good pitching from the bullpen yesterday after Canning went down. That was important. Last night was a big win. A big hit from McNeil to break it open in the 7th, a double. It could have been. It probably should have been more than 4-0. To be honest with you, the Mets had bases. The Mets had runners all over the bases all night. But they got a couple big hits. They held the Braves to nothing, and they get the win. And that's what's most important. That's it. They're a half game coming out of that terrible 10-game stretch. And listen, there are still things that you have to look at with what happened there, because you're going to have to play these teams again. They're your division rivals. You're going to be fighting with the Phillies the whole summer. So they're going to have to figure out what to do against the Phillies and the Braves, to be honest with you. And against the Braves, I don't think they're going to, because they never have in the 20, 30 years I've been watching the Mets. But they're going to have to figure it out, because these are the goals of the games you got to win. And we can't go through another stretch like that. But like I said, they come out on the other side, they're okay. It's not a disaster. Like we looked like we were headed for disaster. Turns out they got the ship righted, and they came out the other end in first place. Now Vientos is back from injury tonight. He's going to be in the lineup against the Pirates, and Vientos, I think, is key to this lineup, because if Vientos comes back and he hasn't played like he did last year at any point during this season. Now he's had a little bit of time off, step away from it. Yeah, it was an injury, but it wasn't anything serious. It was like a strain of the hamstring. So Vientos was able to step aside, get himself together, and now hopefully he comes back with even most of what he gave you last year. He was a superstar that got better in the playoffs, and those are rare to have. So we need Vientos, and I think Vientos is going to be better. I think the injury is going to be a turning point in his season, and it's going to be important, and it's going to be good for him that he got away from it, all the criticism, and then what happened, sophomore slump, all that stuff. And then now he can just concentrate on playing baseball and hitting the baseball and doing what he did last year. Because if the Mets can get that going, then look out. And if you get, and right, they really haven't had an extended period of time where you've had even two of the big three of Lindor, Alonso, and Soto hitting at the same time. And now it looks like Alonso is breaking out of it, right? He's breaking out of that slump. He 3 for 4 last night. They were the line drives he was hitting. He's cooled off on the home runs, but that's okay. The home runs are going to come with Pete. So the Mets, Vientos in the lineup and everything. So let's give you the starting lineup for tonight's game against the Pirates. Mets will open up 3 games. Like I said, they missed Skeen, which is important because you don't want to be going up against him because you're not going to beat him. Well, you might beat him, but you're going to beat him, 1-0 is what's going to happen. So the lineup for tonight is as follows. You got Lindor in the leadoff spot, Nimmo second, Soto, Alonso, McNeil. McNeil, who was, again, a big hit yesterday. McNeil's really been a key factor here. They move him all over the defensive lineup. He's in center field one day. He's at second base one day. He's in left field another day. Tonight he is in center field as the DH will be the DH is going to be Vientos. So Vientos is going to be in the DH, and that might be a good spot for him because then Beatty hits. Maybe you could work something out there. So again, Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso, McNeil hitting 5th, Vientos, DH hitting 6th, Beatty 7th, Mauricio 8th, and Senga behind the plate. And Senga, listen, Senga's been all right. He's gotten a couple hits, right? Each time he's come up and he's gotten the call, he's answered it. And that's good to see, especially with his story and everything. And you got Peterson on the mound tonight. Peterson is the ace of this staff right now. He's been on. He threw a perfect game. Listen to me. He threw a complete game shutout a couple starts ago. He pitched real well in his last start, and now he's going up against an anemic Pirates offense that just listen. They just simply don't score runs. Their pitcher, just as an example for that, is the pitcher tonight. It's Peterson. It's going up against Keller. Keller has a 4.2 ERA, right? Not terrible, not great, but that's certainly not terrible. His record is 1-10. 1-10 with an okay ERA. Pirates don't score runs. Their offense has just been terrible. They got their coach fired. They got the manager fired. It's been a long year. At 18 games under 500, 32-50 for the Pittsburgh Pirates in what is one of the prettiest stadiums out there. You got the bridge in the background, the yellow bridge. It's just a beautiful stadium. It's one that's on my bucket list that I want to get to at some point in my life. So that's your lineup for the Mets. Pirates tonight. That game is 6:40. Tomorrow, you got Blackburn going with his second start from his return. Actually, it's his third start because they started him, then they put him in the bullpen, then got to start last week, and now he starts again tomorrow. That's a 4:00 start on Fox. So if you're looking for it tomorrow, and he'll be going up against Falter, who's 6-3, and then Sunday it's going to be Montas with his second start, and if he can do anything like he did in his first start, then it should be a good weekend for the Mets. It really should be. These are games that you want to go in there and sweep this series. You'll take 2 out of 3, but minimum 2 out of 3, especially when you got the Phillies and Braves playing each other, beating each other up. So you can pick up games with a win. You pick up a game on either the Phillies or the Braves, and keeping the Braves at double digits at 10 back was important because if all of a sudden now today they're 8 back because they won those 2 games, they swept the Mets. And then the Mets are reeling, limping into Pittsburgh. But they're not. With everything that's gone wrong and all the injuries, you got to feel good about the way they came out of this 10-game stretch. It's a 3-7 stretch in 10 games. You'd normally it's just terrible. And it was terrible for a while. But they come out of it, first place, playing well. They get Vientos back. They send Jared Young down, he was just an automatic guy. He was a hole in the lineup. And the Mets still have some holes in this lineup. Right now, Mauricio is a hole in the lineup. Senga is the 9-hitter. He's obviously a hole in the lineup. Beatty is I wouldn't call him an automatic out these days, but he hasn't been great this month. He's had a bad month. And then it's such a top-heavy lineup for the Mets with Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso, McNeil. And now you're hoping that you can extend that to Vientos, but we don't know because we don't know how if you want to go by how he's done this year, it's not good. So Mets, Pirates, first of 3, and after this, it's a heavy American League schedule for the Mets, heading all the way up into the All-Star break. They got 3 against Pittsburgh here in Pittsburgh. Then they come home for a 6-game homestand, Milwaukee and the Yankees. Yankees, of course, over the holiday weekend, the 4th of July weekend. Then they go on the road, 3 in Baltimore, 3 in Kansas City, and that leads you right into the All-Star game. So we're getting right at the All-Star game. Today, the Mets will play their 82nd game. They will start the second half of their season. So this thing's kind of flying along, right? We're already at the halfway point. We're 2 weeks from the All-Star game. You could really sit and evaluate now how your team has done. And the Mets were 2 losses away, 2 games away from it being really a not good outlook. That's how big I think those 2 games are. It's just a sigh of relief. It's against the Braves. It's the first time in over a year that they beat the Braves in back-to-back games. They're still 27-12 at Citi Field, although they're 1 and what is it? No, they're 3-7 in their last 10 home games. They're still 27-12, still tied for the best home record in baseball, still tied for the franchise best start at home with the 15 team and I believe the 88 team. Both had 27-12 records at home at one point in the season. So with everything that happened, and as bad as it was, that you hope that was rock bottom. And I can't really seeing it not be. That this little 15, maybe you could even stretch out to 15 games because you had the three game sweep against where you got swept by the Rays. That led into the 10 games against Atlanta and Philly, and it just went south fast. You lost Senga in the Rays series. You lost Griffin Canning here last night, season ending. You lost Vientos, who went down and went to the minors. You sent your starting catcher Alvarez to the minors. And somehow you come out at the other end, 3-7, but feeling good. And it would have been a totally, completely different feel had the Mets lost that game last night, or had they lost both, God forbid, and got swept by the Braves in a 4-game series. It's just a completely different outlook as we head into the second half. And you know what? Give the fans credit. Even after losing those first 2 games, back-to-back sellouts. The I was out there for a couple of the games. The atmosphere has not really dimmed a bit. Yeah, they were booing the team in that first game against Atlanta because, you blew a 3-0 lead. You had Montas who pitched beautifully. And then it just, Brazoban came in and walked the ballpark, and that started a 5-run inning. And the bullpen is still an issue. Bullpen's going to be an issue. Bullpen's an issue for everybody, for the most part. You have stretches where you're really good and your bullpen's unhittable. But, Brazoban is to both ends of the spectrum. He was leading the league in ERA. He was the best relief pitcher in baseball there for a little while. And then he came in the other night and he just walks the bases loaded. He can't get anybody out. He can't throw strikes. So we'll see how it goes. Mets and Pirates tonight, 6:40. It's on Odyssey, 880 Odyssey Mets Radio Network. That's Howie and Keith Rad, friend of the show. Or you could always listen on SNY with Gary, Keith, and Ron. I don't know if they're all there. Let's just assume that they are. And that'll do it for us. So, Mets, Pirates, day game tomorrow, night game tonight, day game, 1 o'clock on Sunday. And if they can take care of business, the Mets will be in good shape. They've weathered the storm here. That was as bad a 10 days as you could get. Came out of it, still in first place. And now, let's see if they could go on a little run of their own and get that 6-game lead back, heading into the Yankee series and then heading into the All-Star game. So don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Every little bit helps. Tell your friends. We love your ratings. We love your reviews. We love to get new subscribers. So make sure you do all that. You can get us anywhere you get your podcast, YouTube, and always lockedupsports.net, lockedupsports.net. From the Brian Gunzel Studios, I'm Bob Walters. Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the game. See ya.